Hello and welcome to Latter-day Profiles. I'm Brian Howard. We're here on the campus of Brigham Young University, Idaho. And joining me today is T.C. Christensen.
Yeah.
T.C., welcome. It's good to have you
Thanks.
here.
I like to come here, Brian.
Yeah, we've talked before. It's been many years ago. We won't say how many because we don't want to age ourselves that way. But right after, I think, Ephraim's Rescue came out. And today we're talking about Escape from Germany that's recently come out this year. And I had the privilege of watching it just a few days ago. It was a great film. T.C., director, writer, all kinds of great things and lots of films. I think I've seen, well, I probably haven't seen them all, but I know I've seen 17 Miracles, Ephraim's Rescue, The Fighting Preacher, Cokeville Miracle, all those fantastic. I enjoyed all of them.
I made all those.
Yeah, and probably many more that I don't know about, of course. But that's great stuff. What's you do, especially in more historical movies? What's the attraction to doing historical movies?
I only do true stories. I don't have anything against fiction, but I have just always had a love for true stories. And I think to a viewer that it adds like another 30% of interest because they're looking at the story and they should know in their heads, this happened. I'm just not making up a bunch of stuff. I try to be pretty much true to the story. Of course, there's things we have to make up, and I don't know what dialogue people were saying to each other. You have to have that. But I have just felt like I'm satisfied when I've done a film that is a true story, and I just keep doing it.
You know, the amazing thing is the true stories, it's hard to make that stuff up, right? They're actually more powerful, I think, than a lot of the fiction stories.
And in our heritage, in our culture, I think we have so many great stories that I would never run out of good stories to tell.
Let's talk about this movie, Escape from Germany. And we can give a brief summary, it was right before World War II. It's interesting to look at things in retrospective. You know, they didn't know exactly what was going to happen, but we do. The missionaries there in Germany, and the prophet says, you got to get out. And the movie talks about how they do that. It's pretty dangerous. A lot of crazy things go on, miracles, I'd say. How did you find out about this particular story?
We had just done 17 Miracles. So this is about 2010 or 11. And I went to speak at a Sons of the Pioneers banquet, and they sat me next to a guy. They said, he's interesting. He's an older guy. You'll like talking to him. And I did like talking to him. His name was Frank Swallow. And the first thing Frank said to me is, I was one of those missionaries that had to escape right before World War II started in Germany. Okay, I didn't know anything about it. I'd never heard of it. Well, that's very cool. Okay, but then I started noticing and researching and thinking about it. And then a few years later, someone sent me a book, which an Idaho lady, Terry Montague, lives down in the Rupert area, and she had written a book about this. And I read it, and I really liked it. But I was a little scared to jump into it because it was, period 1939, it's trains, it's Nazis and German shepherds and all of this expensive elements in making the film. And I just didn't feel like on the budgets that we have that I could pull it off. And it took a lot of years of trying to figure out how we could minimize a few things and get our arms around it and actually make it.
When you decide, okay, I think we can do this, where do you start? I mean, what's the first step? Is it writing the script? Or
yes, first step is taking a stab at the script, which means research. And that's a fun part for me. I really enjoy those days of just trying to find out what happened and then determine what is the story. Is there a story in here? And it didn't take me very long before I realized, yeah, there's a story in here. It has a great protagonist, this Elder Siebold. He has something he desires, he wants, and it's a noble desire. And then he's got obstacles, Nazis, and all kinds of problems because of World War II that come after him. And then it has a really, I think, satisfying ending. And that's kind of the basis for me of what makes a good story and something that I want to tell.
Kind of the ultimate hero's journey, right?
Yeah.
Really perfect. When you're doing the research, how do you go about it? Get on the phone, get on the internet? What entails the research?
Boy, it's kind of anything you can dig up and try to find. This film, I had one actual survivor still alive when I started. Her name was Irma Rosenhan, and she was 103 years old. And I went to see her. She still, of course, remembered the incident and her getting out and so forth. But I was hoping to actually put her in the film, and she passed away because COVID happened and delayed us. And she passed away just a year before we were going to film it. But I'm reading, I'm talking to Terry Montague, who really made a big difference because she had interviewed all of these escaped missionaries in the 70s and the 80s. If she wouldn't have, I think they'd have passed on, and I probably wouldn't have had enough information to make the film.
Did they share information for like their journals and other things? You had that information?
Yes. They weren't, it wasn't big on, this story wasn't big in their journals because they were told not to write down a lot of things. You know, with the war coming and obviously this kind of, who knows what those Germans and Nazis are going to do. And so they didn't want to have a lot of stuff in writing.
Interesting.
And so that was mostly their memories.
So you said, okay, we're going to take this on. You're writing the script with in mind. You got to do this in a certain budget. What are the kind of things you do to be creative as far as where to shoot and how to shoot to make it work on the budget constraints?
For me, it's really starts in the writing, because if you set a bunch of scenes in huge train stations where you would have really 500 or 600 people, and you're going to do a bunch of that work, it's going to be very expensive. If you can find a way to set a scene in a very interesting location, but not so expensive, boom, all of a sudden you've saved a lot of money, and it's still, I think, visually satisfying. So there's a lot of that goes on. And I'll tell you a thing, I don't really like long movies. It's got to be a really good movie to keep me interested for 2.5 hours. And I like short movies, and I think they fit better with what I'm about. So I'm always trimming and trying to make sure the script isn't too long, and we just get in and tell a good story and then shut up.
Yeah, well, I really liked it because I like the movies like that it keeps you wanting more. When it ends, it's like, oh. And by the way, when I watched it, everybody stayed for and they want to see what happened to all the people in the movie. Had pictures and it had little posts, what happened to these folks. And so really enjoyable. People gave it big applause at the end, so people really enjoyed the movie. So where do you end up shooting? I know at least you went to Hungary. Is that the furthest location for your shoots?
Yeah, it's expensive to travel, and so we try to do as much as we can at home. Home is in the Salt Lake area for me. And so we were very fortunate that the church allowed us to shoot in the Granite Tabernacle, which is it's a great building that is in Sugar House. It was built in the late 1920s. Has a lot of areas we were able to use. And then the Masonic Temple on South Temple in Salt Lake is a wonderful building. It was built in the 1920s. You just walk in there, you can just point the camera about anywhere and film, and it looks like it passes for 1939 Germany. We did go up to the Hebrew Railroad for a while, but then went to Budapest, and that's where we got the bigger shots with the big train stations and some of the older looking trains.
I know you've got, one of the interesting part about this one is there was descendants of those missionaries who escaped, and you invited them. It sounded like to me, when you put together a class reunion, that's a challenge. How did you find these descendants and invite them to be part of the movie?
Well, I decided, really it was only a month or so before we started, this film takes a lot of extras. Well, why are we going out and just getting people that want to be extras? We have descendants, I'm sure, of all of these missionaries. Let's get them. And I like to do that. We've done that on several films. When the descendants are there on the set, it creates a spirit that people feel like, hey, this is important, and this is a person his dad was one of those guys. It just kind of ups everything. So we assigned a few crew members, and they went out and just looked and found hundreds of descendants, and they were terrific. They came, we had them almost every day on the set, and they would show up, and they come out on the set in their 1939 garb, and I would introduce them before we would start filming to the cast and the crew. We have with us today who? And they'd raise their hand. They'd say, well, I'm with the Hildebrandt family. I'm with the Siebold family. And it would make me cry every day, because that to have them there and feel of their desire to honor their ancestor was it inspired me every morning.
Let's talk a little bit of the film, because, for me, I look at, here's like Norm Siebold. He's an Idaho farm boy, not far away from where we are right now growing up. And he's not really a willing participant, right? But yet he's a colonist. Let's talk a little bit about the story. Here we are. People don't know exactly what's going on. We don't have the communication we have today. So they know something's going on with Germany. They know something's going to happen. Tell the missionaries, the prophet says, missionaries, you got to go. Let's give people an idea of what happens from there.
Well, it's scattered. As you said, no communications. To try to find 79 missionaries that were in this mission, it's the West Mission, and they're scattered from down Stuttgart way up to the Danish border, and get them out in a short amount of time was really miraculous. And for them to do that, they'd send out a telegram. It'd go to a telegraph office in their town. Somebody at some point in the day run over and try to take it over to where they were, leave it on their door because they're very seldom home. And then you don't know if they've even got the message. It's just a lot of that the mission office is dealing with. And then the main way out is trains. There's not planes at that point that they can hop on, and really for the most part highways and freeways. It was trains, and as a result, those missionaries they have to go to the train station, and a lot of them didn't have that much money. So this all had to be orchestrated. We got to get them money. We got to find them and let them know where they're going to go. And the mission president decided, I'm going to send one missionary to go. Is that the way we do missionaries? I don't think so. It's always two. It's always two. He just said, I want you to go, Elder Siebold. And he went by himself. And I think, knowing the story as I do now, that was because of a couple of things. One was Norm Siebold was a tough guy. He wasn't one to put up with much guff, even from military police, as you would see in the film. And then the second thing is that Norm Siebold was amazingly spiritual. He had these impressions of what to do and what not to do and where to go and so forth that are just, I see that happen in the film, and I still think, wow, what a guy. He had it all.
There's some things, so I have some favorite parts, and maybe we talk about, some are in the trailer, of course, when the young missionary is talking to the consulate and tells about how we have information from our prophet that's probably more reliable than U.S. intelligence. That was great. Well, what are some other ones that stick out to you that are moments that will probably stick in people's minds?
Well, I don't know that I pulled this scene off as well as I should have, because to me it is really one of the most incredible things that happened with Norm Siebold, is that even though he's looking in train stations, and that's where they're all going to be, he gets to one town and he feels pulled to leave the train station. And he goes wandering up through the village, and he feels pulled to go into a pub. Missionaries weren't supposed to go in pubs. You know why? There's booze in there. And they're just not supposed to go in there. Well, he's standing out there thinking, why would I go in there? They're not in there. They're missionaries. They're not in there having some German beer. But he goes in, and there's two stranded missionaries that had stopped in there. They didn't know where else to go. They needed a rest. They had something like a nickel left, and they bought a Sprite, and they sat there and drank it and had a place to sit down. And he found them. That's like Nephi to me, just going around. He just didn't know what he was going to do, but he went forth and did it.
And one of my favorite parts also is, I think this one also has a bit in the trailer with the mission president. This was dangerous. It wasn't just like hopping on the train. There's military around. They're checking. You don't know if you're going to get out or they're going to put you in prison, kind of thing. Took a big risk. The train wasn't going to let them go where they needed to go, and so he took it upon himself to take the train himself. Tell us about that one.
That's the number one question after any screening. Did the mission president really steal the train? And I get to say yes. Well, it's kind of yes, because he didn't take the train and put it on a boat and take it home to America. He didn't steal it like that. It was left there, so I'm sure they got it back. But yeah, they hopped on. I think his back was to the wall, and he had his family and a few of the missionaries, and it was not happening. They didn't know how to get out, and realized that if they got this train, it was going to go right to an area where they could get out. And so they jumped on and figured out how to run it and took the train.
Yeah, missionaries' ingenuity and a little inspiration to make that work. As you're making the film, this took a long time because of COVID and things like that. Ukraine, I think you wanted to shoot there first, and that didn't happen because of war going on there. It comes time to finish it, and now distribution as an independent filmmaker. How do you go about that? We want to put this in theaters. How do you do it?
Well, this isn't our first film, so I've already set all of that up. I have contacts and a distributor and so forth. For first-time independent filmmakers, that really is a struggle, figuring out how to make that happen. For me, it's a matter of talking to distributors that I've already dealt with and showing them a screener, an early cut of the film, so they feel good about it and they see what it's about. And it just gets into a machine, and you have to sign deals and take care of the business side of stuff. But it's not one of the tougher parts of this whole operation.
When it starts to be successful like this one, is it easily expandable at theaters? Does it grow, and how does that happen?
We hope it grows. That's the plan. We opened in 40 theaters, as opposed to 13 years ago. We opened 17 Miracles in only 12 screens. So this is bigger. 40 is more than 12. And we opened in 40, and then we see how it goes and watch the box office. We see if people are calling in, requesting it to come to their areas. We have a terrific distributor, Susan Tuckett, who monitors all of that. And when people start writing in from Chicago and saying, how do we get it here? She finds a way to get it there. So we expanded after 2 weeks from 40 to 131, and that's as far as I know now, and if it's going to go any bigger or not. But it's an independent film. It's never going to be the big. When you go down and you see the Marvel movies and whatever, they're on 3,000 at least screens, maybe 4,000, and that's just domestically. Ours is a little independent film, doesn't do as near the numbers or so forth. But guess what? If I can just pay back our investors, I get to make another one. And that's a Walt Disney quote. Walt Disney said, I don't make movies to make money. I make money so I can make my next movie. And that I really feel strongly about that. This is fun. I just want to keep doing it.
We have a discussion in one of my classes about how to make money in the movie industry, and the bottom line is you spend less, right, than you make. And so that's the key. So there's a lot of other things that go into it. But bottom line is that. So what's the feedback been so far from you? You've talked to some people, you've gone to some screenings. What are they saying?
Well, I was worried with this one because this is my first film that my mom has died. She's passed away a few years ago. My mom was a great. She'd just tell everybody, you better go see my son's movie. I thought, whoa, I don't have mom anymore doing that. Maybe she's doing it for me still. Maybe that's what's going on. But we're having really good response. One of the things that I can early on tell how successful a film's going to be is if people are going more than once. And our record that I know of is the film had only been out about 11 days, and one lady had seen it 5 times. That's good. That's so you can see a pattern, see that and I'm sure not everybody loves it, and I criticize and whatever. I'm not a perfect filmmaker, and it isn't a perfect film, but it has been very positive and very encouraged by people coming out and supporting it.
Yeah, it's a good story, well told. My wife and I went on date night, and we decided we better take our kids back, so that's on the agenda to take our kids to the movie as well. So we're excited about After it's in theaters, what are the next steps as far as distribution? Does it go streaming someplace, and how do you have those deals in place? How does that happen?
Yes, they are all in place. Deseret Book is our partner with this, and they have a new home theater streaming thing that they're going to do, and it will go to DVD. My audience is there's a lot of older people and many that still buy DVDs, so we'll try that, and then it will go to streaming, and it goes through we have a Hollywood distributor, and they deal with all that. I don't really, they tell me what's going on and sometimes ask my opinion, but it's really their deal, and they just get it on as many streaming or the best deals or whatever, and then all of that just happens, and by then, for sure, I'm off on to another film.
Yeah, speaking of next project, so hopefully this one, fun for the next one, which is great. What you got going on in the future? What new projects?
We have two other films going. This second one, we've already shot it. It's in post. And it is the story of Alma Richards, a true story, of course. Alma Richards was a young man raised in Parowan, Utah, turn of the century, 1910, and he was big. And he goes to school one day, and there's a new sport called track. And the new track coach says, "Hey, you're big. Why don't you come out for track?" And I was like, he didn't even know what's track. He didn't even know what it was. He went out. And 2 years later, he finds himself at the Olympics in Stockholm, Sweden, and he wins a gold medal in the high jump. It's a sports story primarily. And he really had a lot of things going against him. Very excited about our Alma Richards story. And then my son, Tanner, who's been our editor and visual effects artist on our films, is to a point where he wants to direct a film. And he's found a great subject. It's a documentary. He loves documentaries. And we've started on that. And it is the story of Ben Kerr. It's a kid who was born with all kinds of problems and overcame them. It's kind of maybe the tagline with this Ben film is, it's like doctors told him he would never be able to live an ordinary life. So instead he lived an extraordinary life. He did. He found his way through wrestling, and he's just a terrific person and dad and everything else. Feel good film.
So you got one in the can, and one that you're working on with the Tanner. Any other ideas ruminating around? I'm sure people pitch ideas all the time.
Let me have a break, Brian. I've got 3 going. I usually don't have this many lined up. It's because of COVID. But yeah, there's always things. I say there's just so many great stories out there. I'm sure that before long I'll have something else to do.
Yeah. When you pick these items, obviously they're all great stories, but there's probably more obviously than you can tell. What are the main criteria? Is it feasibility? Is it the level of the story?
Yeah,
you think this really could be well told?
Yeah, it is. If it's something that's beyond me, meaning we can't afford to do, hyperspace and blowing up, and I'm not interested in that stuff anyway. But can we do it? And do I feel like it's a story that I can get my arms around and add something to? Is it in my kind of wheelhouse, where I can hit the ball? And then, as we were saying before, it's that criteria of who's the hero? Are they fighting for something that I care about and other people are concerned if he gets it or not? And a solid story. The story is the most important part of all of this. It really is. Maybe some people are more interested in the shebang of great camera moves and lighting and whatever, and I try to be proficient in all that. But to me, it all comes down to, does the audience care about what's happening to these people on the screen? And if I feel like I can get them to that point where they do, and when the film's over, they feel like they've been on an adventure, they've learned something, they've been touched, there's emotion to the film, then that's great. We did our job.
TC, thanks for joining us today. The film most recent is Escape from Germany in 2025. Look for some others and beyond. So thanks, TC, for coming and sharing your thoughts.
That was fun to talk to you, Brian. Thanks,
Thanks, TC.